providing unconditional love.
There's nothing soft or syrupy about unconditional love. It involves making a conscious decision to value someone for who he is, rather than for what he does. In order to feel esteemed as a human being, every single one of us has a desperate need for that kind of love. Our students are no exception. And for some of them, you may offer the best chance they'll ever have for receiving the unconditional love that will bring joy and hope to their lives. Relationships are an important element in education. If you think back and picture the teacher that had the greatest impact upon your life, it's almost always a teacher that you believed cared for you. He or she might have been extremely demanding, but because that teacher believed in you and made you feel special, you worked hard for that teacher. Dr. David Anthony was the former superintendent of the Cypress Fairbanks School District in northern Houston. He said, "If we want students to be successful, we must first help them to feel significant." One of the most important things that we can do as teachers is to develop a nurturing classroom environment that allows students to feel valued. Most teachers are well equipped to teach the subject matter and are well versed in the methods used in teaching. Equally important, however, how do we go about building the sort of relationships with students that make them receptive to what we teach? A critical challenge for a nurturing teacher is learning how to convey unconditional care and love toward all students, even when the kids are going through those stages when they aren't particularly lovable. One of the primary ways of showing our regard for a student is to put it into words. Nothing makes us feel more significant than to hear somebody say to us, "I care for you." Students desperately need to be told that somebody cares for them, and you'd be surprised how many kids don't hear it at home. An elementary teacher tells this story. "I have always ended my class on Fridays by saying to the students as they prepared to leave, 'Goodbye, I love you, have a nice weekend.' One particular Friday, I was having a bad day and was really feeling frazzled. When the dismissal bell rang, I just put my head down on my desk and didn't say a word. The students all got up to leave, but stopped inside the door. Finally, one of them said to me, 'Mrs. Wright, aren't you going to tell us goodbye, I love you, have a nice weekend?' This teacher said, I had not realized how important my words of affirmation were to them. Kids do need to hear that we care for them. However, in order that our words not ring hollow, we must also initiate behaviors that convey unconditional love to our students. In fact, when it comes to showing that we care, our actions are more important than our words. Physical touch. One powerful way of conveying unconditional love is through an appropriate physical touch. Children have an incredible need for the affirming touch of caring adults. Studies of infants in orphanages reveal that untouched children become emotionally disturbed. Some even die. A loving, caring physical touch confirms a child's sense of being valued. In our society today, physical touching has come under close scrutiny, especially at school. While care must be exercised so that the intent of the physical contact is not misinterpreted or misunderstood, teachers can convey their approval and affection for a child in a variety of appropriate ways. A pat on the back, a touch on the shoulder, or shaking hands. A school counselor says, "When I was teaching, I would hold my hand out so that a student could give me 5. That way, the student could initiate the physical contact if he chose to do so." It's also important that whatever form of touch you use is shared with all your students, and not just with a couple of your favorites. Eye contact. Eye contact is also an important element in the giving of unconditional love. An elementary school teacher says, "I'm an expert at grading papers and carrying on a conversation with a student. When I'm smart enough to lay my papers aside and turn and give the student my eyes, it's almost as if something electric charges through her body." Giving our eyes to our students when we talk with them is an important way of letting kids know that they are important and that what they say matters to us. Active listening. Active listening is another means of helping students know that they are valued. Active listening means listening to another person without criticism or judgment. It focuses on feelings rather than facts and affirms the worth of the speaker regardless of his behavior. Focused attention. A fourth technique for showing students we care is focused attention. Focused attention is full, undivided attention, the sort of focus that allows the student to really feel significant. A teacher says, "I stand at the door before each class and greet every child by smiling, looking them in the eye, and calling them by name when they enter my room. I also give each of them a pat on the arm or the shoulder as they pass by me. It seems to make a big difference in terms of their having a positive attitude while they are in my classroom." Teachers report that when they are able to give even a few moments of focused attention to children, the ambiance of their classroom dramatically improves. Empathy. Another expression of unconditional love is the gift of empathy. Empathy consists of our experiencing feelings with another person rather than for that person. It allows us to enter that person's world with understanding and compassion. Suppose a kid is angry and disruptive and has to be taken outside the classroom to calm down. Rather than shaking a finger in his face and telling the student, "You ought not to get angry like that," an empathetic teacher can simply reflect the feeling back to the student by saying something like, "You're angry, aren't you?" And then encourage the student to verbalize the feeling. In validating the feeling, you validate the child and show unconditional love. Saying, "I care for you," giving an affirming physical touch, eye contact, active listening, focused attention, and empathy are some of the ways we can demonstrate to students that we care for them. This giving of unconditional love requires intentionality and commitment. There's a tremendous payoff, however. Will not only help kids to excel in the classroom, even more importantly, will help them to feel valued and to value themselves. Here are some things to remember in providing unconditional love. Tell the student, "I care for you." Remember that when giving unconditional love, actions speak louder than words. We show that we care through an appropriate physical touch. Establish good eye contact when talking with the student. Listen to the student without criticism or judgment. Make the student feel special and important by giving her some focused attention. Extend empathy to the student by validating his feelings. In accepting the child's feelings, you accept the child.